Creeping Coffin. And we'll be asking for chat which choices we make when they arise. I'm bored, you moan. I'm so bored I could eat flies just to see how they taste. Flies have germs, your grandmother replies. It's a hot, sticky day in the middle of July. You plop down into a creaky old chair in your grandmother's kitchen. Your parents dropped you off yesterday before they left for their vacation, and already you could die of boredom. Your grandmother's old dog, Sparkle, yawns loudly. He crawls under the table. Moments later, he begins to snore. I know how you feel, Sparkle, you say. You sigh loudly. Why don't you go outside and find something to do, your grandmother suggests. She looks up from the pie she's baking and nods toward the backyard. Go out there, you think. In her backyard? No way. You glance out the window. It's probably 90 degrees in the shade. But you shiver. Your grandmother's house is right in front of an old cemetery. Rows and rows of old, crumbling tombstones just sit beyond the edge of her backyard. But that's not what scares you. What scares you is that the tombstones have been moving. You notice it right after you arrived yesterday. You saw the tombstone from your bedroom window on the second floor. You could tell some of the graves had cool carvings on them, so you decided to go outside and take a closer look. But when you entered the graveyard, something was different. Something strange. Some of the graves were out of place. Nah, can't be, you told yourself. Graves don't disappear. But still, from your bedroom window, you could have sworn that there were 5 or 6 graves in the back. Bro, now there was only 3. Nah, you must have counted wrong. You decided to forget it and you went to bed. But when you woke up this morning and glanced out the window, the coffins had moved again. Now there were 10 in the back row, and the middle rows seemed to be more crowded. It almost looked as if some of the graves were moving forward and some of the graves were moving backward, and there was a big traffic jam in the center. The coffins were rearranging themselves. But how? And why? Your grandmother taps you on the shoulder. She snaps you out of your daydream. Go on, she says. Go play outside. Outside? Out there? You shudder as you glance out the kitchen window again. Oh no, it disappeared. What disappeared, your grandmother asks. The grave with the angel on it, you screech, pointing out the window. It's gone. One headstone in particular caught your eye yesterday. It had an angel carving on it. The angel looked so realistic you practically believed she could fly away. Did she? Did she fly away? Your grandmother peers out the kitchen window. Don't be a goose, she scolds you. That tombstone is still there. You don't answer her. You can't. Your heart is pounding crazily and your mouth has gone dry. You bolt out of the back door. You've got to see for yourself. But in the graveyard, you discover that your grandmother is right. The tombstone with the angel isn't gone. It just moved. It had been there in the last row. Now it's up front. I'm losing my mind, you think. I'm losing it completely. Or are you? You run back into the house shouting, Grandma, you yell. That grave with the angel on it? Your grandmother interrupts you. You don't have to shout, dear. The angel? She looks up from her pie crust. That's a nice one. Let me see. Who's buried there? Ah, yes, that's Elmira Martin's grave. Before you can explain about the moving gravestones, a voice on the far side of the room makes you jump. The name is Elvira Martin, the voice says sharply. Not Elmira. You never could get my name right. Your mouth drops open. A strange woman now stands in the doorway that leads from the kitchen to the hall. A very strange woman. Because she isn't a living, breathing woman, she's a ghost. Oh, Grandma, you begin. But from the way your granny is humming to herself, you can tell she doesn't hear or see this scary visitor. And don't you stare at me, you little wretch, the ghost says, pointing at you, or you'll be sorry. What are you going to do? Suddenly, you're living in a haunted house. Are we going to run outside, or are we going to talk to the ghost? Chat gets to decide if we run outside, away from the ghost, or if we talk to the ghost. 1 for outside, 2 for talk. Don't be a pussy, then we'll talk to the ghost. Why are you here, you ask the ghost. But your grandmother thinks you're talking to her. You know why I'm here, your grandmother answers. I live here. Don't be such a goose. For some reason, your grandmother can't see Elvira. You've always wanted to have a special skill. You don't need to put up a poll. We can just type 1s and 2s in chat. You've always wanted to have a special skill, but ghost spotting wasn't what you had in mind. You try to think of a way to ask Elvira a question without having your grandmother think you're completely crazy, but you can't, so you keep staring at the ghost. She glares at you a moment and then motions for you to follow her. You watch as she floats into the hall and up the stairs toward your room. Follow a ghost, you think? Are you nuts? Just the idea gives you a chill. Do you follow the ghost or you race out the house fast and go home? We're going to follow Rebecca and continue with the don't be a pussy, so we're going to follow the ghost. You follow Elvira up to your room on the second floor, and the moment you step into the bedroom, she slams the door. Then she whirls around to face you. Her eyes are green and begin to glow. You back up, stumbling, and fall onto the bed. You little wretch, she says. I don't want any trouble from you. Sparks seem to fly from her flashing green eyes. You shrink back into the pillows. Then Elvira gazes around the room. Yes, this will do nicely. What do you mean, you stammer? Elvira floats towards the bed. She hovers over you. I'm taking this room now, she tells you. Get out. You would love to leave, but you're shaking too hard to get up. Besides, you have to find out what's going on. Elvira's the only one who can explain it to you. Please, you beg. Just tell me why you are here. Why are the graves moving? Shut up, she screeches, and get off that bed. I want to lie down. I haven't slept in a bed in 51 years. Uh-oh, you realize. You aren't just dealing with a ghost here. You're dealing with a ghost in a very bad mood. You jump up from the bed. Elvira lays down, neatly spreading her white satin dress on the covers. Her long red hair fans out across the pillow. Ah, she sighs, a real bed. She shuts her eyes. You hope she doesn't sleep too long. You have so many questions to ask, and you hope she'll be in a better mood when she wakes up. She dozes for exactly 2 minutes, then her eyes pop open. You notice they aren't glowing green anymore. Ah, Elvira says, that's better. Now that she's awake, you're not sure how to begin. You're almost too freaked out to speak, but you have to know. Why are the graves moving, you ask? What's going on? It's the curse of the creeping coffins, the ghostly woman answers, and we're moving into this house. All of us. All of us? What does that mean? What do you mean, all of you? You manage to stammer. You ask too many questions. Uh-oh. Elvira's eyes flash green again. Don't get in our way, and maybe we'll let you live. She soars up over your head and glares down at you. And don't go talking to that ghost hunter McFarling either, Elvira adds. In the next instant, she floats around backwards and disappears into the wall. McFarling? A ghost hunter? You're startled by a loud clumping footsteps above you. You glance up at the ceiling. The light fixture is shaking. It sounds as if a whole crowd wearing clunky boots is stomping around in the attic. What could it be? A ghost hunter. That's exactly what you need. But how are you going to find this McFarling guy? You dash out of your room and run downstairs as fast as you can. You rush back into the kitchen. Grandma, you gasp, almost out of breath. Do you know someone named McFarling? Oh, don't go talking to me about McFarling, she says. That loon, he came around last month. He told me he thought my house would be haunted soon. Said something about a curse, too. Can you imagine that? I don't want you going anywhere near that man. Let's face it, Granny's not going to be much help. So you race to the computer. On a hunch, you search for ghost exterminators. Bingo, there he is, Mac McFarling, ghost hunter. There may be hope after all. As soon as you can get out of the house before as long as you can get out of the house before Elvira finds out what you're doing. Luckily, everything in your grandma's small town is within biking distance. 20 minutes later, you've biked over to Mac McFarling's office, which happens to be located in his garage. You knock on the side door of the garage. "Come in," a voice calls. You yank open the door. Wow, you think when you see him. Mac McFarling has frizzy, kinky blonde hair sticking out all over his head. He's wearing 6 earrings, a nose ring, and a pair of heavy black frame glasses with blue lenses in them. He's about 20 years old. So that's why your grandmother didn't like him. He's cool. "What's up?" McFarling asks. "You look like you've just seen a ghost." He laughs. "Sorry, just a little ghost hunting humor." You explain about Elvira and that she told you that the ghosts are going to take over your grandmother's house. "I've been expecting this," McFarling says, shaking his head. "I tried to warn your grandmother." "Can you help us?" you plead. His eyes are hidden behind the blue lenses. You can't tell what he's thinking. Will Mac McFarling help you? Suddenly, McFarling swings into gear. He picks up his strange electronic box and heads for the door. "Come on," he says. "We've got to hurry. Let's go." Finally, someone who can help you. You feel better already. McFarling jumps into his car, an old VW Bug. You hop on your bike. As you ride to your grandmother's house, he drives along beside you. He rolls down the window and talks to you the whole time. "Have the gravestones been moving around?" he asks. "Yes," you exclaim. "So you're not crazy. Why are they doing that?" "I'm not sure," he says. "I've only seen it once before, but I think they're moving into position to spell out some kind of message. Or curse." Graves can spell? That doesn't sound possible. But you're ready to believe anything now. "How can we stop them?" you ask Mac. "It won't be easy," he tells you. You were afraid of that. "First," McFarling explains, "you'll have to fight the Keeper of the Sword. That's one of the ghosts. You'll need to get a special sword and then use it to stop the MPG. What's the MPG, you ask? "The most powerful ghost," McFarling says. "It's a term for the spirit who has control over a graveyard." "Once you have the sword," Mac continues, "you must plunge it into the grave of the MPG. But you've got to hurry, because all the graves have moved into position and spell out the message. It'll be too late. The curse will be complete, and after that, you'll never be able to get the ghosts back into their graves." Your head is spinning from what Mac just told you, but you nod as you understand. You've arrived at your grandmother's house. McFarling opens his car and hops out. You get off your bike and park it. McFarling faces your grandmother's house and switches on the funky electronic box he's carrying. Red dials light it up and you hear the loud beeping sound. "Uh-oh," McFarling says. "Major trouble. Give me $1." We're going to choose to give McFarling the $1. You reluctantly hand McFarling a $1 bill. He folds the dollar in half twice. Then he jams it into a tiny slot on his electric box. A minute later, the beeping stops. The box spits out the $1. "Thanks," McFarling says. "The spirit counter was jammed." He gives his $1 back. He gives the $1 back to you. Weird, you think, but seems to have worked. Then McFarling stares at the red dials on his machine. "Bad news, kid," McFarling finally says. "By my count, there are 10 ghosts in the house already. That's way over my limit. You're on your own." He starts to walk back towards his car. "Wait," you call after him. "You can't leave me here. Please, you gotta help me." McFarling hesitates for a minute. Then he shrugs. "Okay, this is what I'm willing to do. I'll help you make a map of the graveyard. Come on." "A map of the graveyard? What for?" you wonder. But you don't ask questions. You just follow Mac into the cemetery and do what he tells you. An hour later, you've got a drawing of the first 4 rows of gravestones. Then we look at the map. It's got some names on it, yada yada. Then we turn to the page. You stare down at the map of gravestones in your hands. You wonder, how can it possibly help? "Big trouble," Max says, peering over your shoulder. The message is already mostly completely spelled out. "What message?" you ask, puzzled. "Look at the first 4 rows," he says, pointing at the paper. "The rest of the graves don't matter. That's why I didn't put them on the map. Take a pen and circle the first letter of the last name on each tombstone, and it spells out a message. Don't you see?" No, you don't see, and you won't see until you do it. So you do it. Then we got to go back here. Oh, now I got to spell it out? All right. So it's S-O-O-N, soon, D-I-W-I-L-L-Y-O-U. There's one missing. It's soon die will you. That's what it says. All right, 65. When you have discovered the message, turn to 91. We're going to... Oh, no, you gasp. You stare at the map and at the message spelled out on the gravestones. Soon... Oh, no, you will die soon. That's the terrible message the graves are moving around to spell. And is the you? Or is the curse directed at your grandmother? Either way, super bad news. Mac, you say, there's only one letter missing. Only one more coffin has to creep into place, and then the curse will be complete, Mac says. He turns and walks back to his car. Wait, you call after him. He stops, but only long enough to pull out a business card. Here, he says, call me after you defeat the Keeper of the Sword. Then I'll tell you what to do next. Then he jumps back in his VW Bug, leaving you standing in front of your grandmother's house. Oh, he calls as he starts to drive off. 2 things to remember. Be sure to find out the name of the Keeper of the Sword and stay away from the Luckmeyer twins. The Luckmeyer twins, you think? Now we say if we want to meet the Luckmeyer twins... Oh, if you've met the Luckmeyer twins already, turn, and if you haven't, turn to this. All right, so we haven't, so we're going to go to this. Keep away from the Luckmeyer twins. That should be easy. No problem. Twins are pretty easy to spot. Then it hits you. Do they always stick together? Are they guys or girls? How old are they? There's no way to know. Huh. This might be more difficult than I thought. You slink into your grandmother's house. You feel creepy, knowing the place is loaded with ghosts. And how are you going to find the Keeper of the Sword? You don't have a clue. Your head swims as you wander up to the second floor. Bam! Door bangs open. It nearly hits you in the head. You jump back. You peer into a hall closet. Don't go in there, a voice behind you warns. You whirl around, and it's a ghost. A teenager from another time. He's dressed in an old-fashioned black velvet suit with a frilly white shirt. His hair is slicked back and combed neatly behind his ears. He's smiling, but it's a sneaky smile. Should you listen to him? If you stay out of the closet, or if you want to see what's in the closet. So do we want to stay out of the closet, or do we want to look in the closet? We're going to look in the closet. You're going to trust a ghost? No way. Who knows what he's got up his ruffled sleeve? If this ghost doesn't want you to see what's in the closet, you bet it's something that can help you unhaunt your grandmother's house. You peer into the dark closet. You don't see anything. You glance back at the ghost. He seems nervous. Good. So you walk right into the closet. Ah! There's nothing under your feet but air. You desperately try to grab hold of something, anything, but it's no use. You're falling down into the darkness. You see your grandmother has turned this closet into a clothes chute. She opens the door and tosses her dirty laundry in. The clothes fall straight down in the basement. That's where the washer is. And it's a 2-story drop. Get the picture? Now, how would you like to be washed? Hot water or cold? With or without bleach? Because it's time to clean up your act, kid. You're all washed up in the ghost hunting business. So that was it. We died.